Being stressed is not usually a good thing, but when you're reviewing a high-profile smartwatch that touts stress tracking as one of its most noteworthy new features, experiencing stress can be helpful. Google's Pixel Watch 2 comes with 3 new sensors, one of which is a continuous electrodermal activity sensor that's supposed to monitor your body's response to physical signs of stress. This is in addition to the new skin temperature sensor, as well as a multi-path heart rate reader that in combination track copious amounts of data for Google to better understand your health. Now, in the world of mainstream flagship smartwatches, so I'm considering things like the Apple Watch and Samsung's Galaxy Watch, this CEDA sensor is relatively unique. Everyone else does heart rate tracking, sleep tracking, and more. So let's take a closer look at the Pixel Watch 2's stress management system and ask ourselves, what's the point? First, how does this work? Now, with the CEDA sensor on board, the Pixel Watch 2 is looking for changes in your microscopic sweat levels. The system takes in information about your skin temperature as well as your heart rate to detect when you're having what Google calls a, quote, body response. If it sounds like kind of fuzzy science, that's because it probably is. It's not very easy to quantify stress. But considering the mainstream appeal of a company like Google, this seems like the right time to put this feature under the microscope. Considering there's no widespread benchmark as to how to explain or understand stress levels just yet, of course, Google and Fitbit had to come up with their own system. And this system is kind of confusing. Basically, when the Pixel Watch 2 senses a body response in you, it will buzz and tell you that you've had a body response during a certain window of time. Then it'll suggest that you log your mood or pause notifications or get more information. When you've logged your mood, it will then suggest that you either take a walk or perform a mindful activity like a meditation. So on the Pixel Watch 2, you're offered a selection of 8 moods to choose from, ranging from frustrated, stressed, and sad to calm, content, or excited. On Apple's system, after you've selected your initial, neutral or pleasant or very pleasant or unpleasant, you'll go into a page with a long list of options ranging from amazed and joyful to brave or passionate even. So compared to what Apple offers, the Pixel Watch 2's current selection of moods is a little simplistic, but it's also important to note, what are you going to use this data for? Well, first, let's talk about how Google, and honestly Fitbit in this case, is presenting the data to us. So when you open up the Fitbit app, you get obviously your daily summary of whatever you've chosen to prioritize as your main focus. Scroll down to the stress management area, and you can tap in to see more details. You'll get your overall stress management score, as well as your daily mindfulness performance and a weekly summary. On each day's listing, you'll see horizontal bars that denote 12 a.m. on the extreme left, as well as 11:59 p.m. on the right, basically representing the whole day. And there are little markers that will indicate when you had a reaction. You will see these little markers pop up in colors that correspond to the mood you selected. And in the listing for each day, you'll also get a total amount of time in minutes that you've had body responses. Honestly, I don't really know what to do with this data just yet. It's either not been long enough, or maybe I can only see that, in the last 3 days, for example, my mood has progressively gotten slightly better. I'm sure there are good ways to use this data. For example, if you want to talk to your therapist and you need a reminder of how you felt the past week, this could be a good reference point. But right now, it just feels a little too vague to be useful. I also want to talk a little bit about the perceived accuracy, honestly, of the CEDA sensor and this body response system. For me, I didn't get a lot of alerts throughout the days when I thought I was incredibly stressed. Meanwhile, a friend, Daniel Howley, who is also testing the Pixel Watch 2, says that he would be getting furious pings even though he was just sitting at his desk working. This clearly will differ from individual to individual based on their physiology, or maybe just how much each of us sweats. For now, it doesn't seem super accurate. I would say it only really caught about 1/3 of the time I've been feeling extremely emotionally intense. And given everything I've been going through lately too, this just doesn't feel like it lines up. I don't want to make this seem like I'm hating on the idea of stress tracking at all. It's heartening to see big companies like Google, Fitbit, and Apple consider these as important components in your overall health. Apple doesn't really have any approach as to detecting when you're stressed yet. Apple's approach really on watchOS 10 is to let you set a daily reminder to log your feeling at a certain time of day, and you manually input the emotion. In fact, most smartwatches these days have gotten a lot better at tracking the more quantifiable things. For example, your heart rate when you're working out. Now, Fitbit has had years and years of experience leading the industry in providing cardio insights to your workout or your sleep, and it continues to do so with the Pixel Watch 2. The multi-path heart rate sensor is supposed to help me get a good signal quality about my cardio performance even as I wave my arms around during the most vigorous activities. I can't tell you how much more accurate really than the Apple Watch Series 9 the Pixel Watch 2 is, because they both gave me the exact same average heart rate during all my HIIT sessions that I've tracked with both of them. The difference lies in what cardio zones each of them tells me I'm in. The Pixel Watch 2 said I spent more time in vigorous and moderate compared to the Apple Watch Series 9, which said I hung out more in Zone 3. While Zone 3 is kind of a vague label, I do like that Apple makes it clear exactly what heart rate ranges those are. Heart rate accuracy is again something that's not easy to measure. All you need to know is that what you do with this heart rate data should be compared to your own personal progress over time, then comparing them against mainstream electrical devices. The one thing that the Pixel Watch 2 does differently and maybe better than the Apple Watch Series 9 is its heart rate sampling rate. Google is measuring your heart rate once every second, which honestly can be very taxing on the battery. This year's model actually lasts all day, and actually I can take it off at the end of the day and still have about 35 to 40% of juice left, even after having the always-on display enabled by default, as well as tracking multiple workouts and doing different things all throughout the day. Should you opt to wear it to bed, when you wake up in the morning, it might not have enough power left. Recharging should be faster though because of the redesigned contact charging. While Google may have caught up to Apple in terms of battery life, this year it fell slightly behind when it came to assistant performance. One day I decided to leave both my phones at home and just go to the gym with only the watches. I didn't have time to swipe through all the interfaces to start a workout, so I decided to use their respective voice assistants. Siri was able to start an outdoor walk with no problem, even though it didn't have a cellular connection or, wasn't tied to its companion phone. Meanwhile, the Google Assistant couldn't do it at all. That's largely because Siri is now processed on-device on the Apple Watch Series 9, whereas the Google Assistant on the Pixel Watch 2 still requires an internet connection. For all of those minor details and comparisons, make sure you head on over to my full review on Engadget.com. But I will say that right now it looks like Google is starting to really catch up to its smartwatch competition in things like battery life and having auto start and stop workout reminders. It's also beginning to carve out a niche by offering the stress management system on the Pixel Watch 2, and this could be the beginning of something. And I am intrigued to see what Google does with this tool in the future. And for more in-depth reviews on smartwatches, laptops, smartphones, and more, make sure you subscribe to Engadget. Until next time, don't stress out.